Hello, it's Mr. Martin again. Gonna walk you through phase number 3 of our Pong game creation here. So, last couple times we have brought in our sprites, figured out how to get the ball to move, get the ball to move a little more random, and then we've also got the paddles in and how to control the paddles. Now, today we are gonna look at how to keep track of the player's score. So, to get started, we first are going to go into our control blocks. We are going to grab a conditional. A conditional, again, is an if or then block. So if something happens, then we want something else to happen. So what we're looking at here is what happens to the ball if we get the ball to move behind the paddle. That's our condition. If the ball moves behind the paddle, what do we want it to do? So we're going to go in and grab an operator. We are going to look for the greater symbol here. The way we're going to do that is by looking at the position of the ball, the X position. Just like in math, X are when it's going left and right across the screen, its X position is changing. So we're going to go up here to our motion blocks and we're going to grab X position. So what we're looking at first is if the ball goes behind the paddle, and we set the paddle at negative 200. So we're going to look at if the X position is less than negative 2, we'll go 230. So it goes quite a bit behind the paddle. So what happens if the ball moves behind the paddle? And what we're going to ask it to do is change the score. But what we need to do first is create a variable. So we are going to go into our variables. Now, a variable, just like in math, is a number that can change. So we're going to set one variable to player 1 score. And then we're going to create a second variable for player 2 score. All right. And we have them up on the screen, and we're going to play around with that a little later. So what we're going to look to do first is when we start the game here, we want to set the variable to 0. So we want to make sure the variable starts at 0. Now, if the X position, the ball, and the variable is set at 0, so we'll leave it there. If the ball goes behind here, we're going to call this person on the right here player number 2. So if the ball goes behind player 1, we want player 2's score to go up. So we are going to change player 2 score by 1. We're going to add that. Actually, before we do that, we're going to copy and we're going to duplicate this, because we're going to have to do it again for the other player. So we're going to add that into our forever loop. So as long as the game is going, we want this to happen. Now we want to do the opposite. If the ball goes this way and goes behind player number 2's paddle, oops, I accidentally clicked on that, go back to the ball. So if the X position is greater than 230, we want to change player 1's score by 1. So we're going to add that in underneath there. Also, when you're playing the game, you want to make sure that after the player's score has been changed, you want to move the ball back. So you want to start the game over again with the score saving there. So when this happens, when the player's score changes, we're going to put the ball back to 0-0, which is right in the middle. And then we're going to wait 1 second. Which is under the control blocks. That way it gives a little bit of time before the ball starts moving again. We want the same thing to happen when the other player scores as well. Go to X, 0, Y, 0. Ball's going to go back to the middle. It's going to wait 1 second, and then it will start moving again. Because we still have the ball moving in that forever loop. Right there. Last step is we want to make sure at the start of each game, so not in the forever loop, because that will mess it up. In the start of the game, when we first begin, we want player 1 score to go to 0. We want to set player 2 score to 0. Right there. So now we start it up. Oh, look at that. It's not working. Why is it not working? Always test it and see if your code is working, and ours is not working right now. Let's see why. X position is less than. Let's change this number. 230 might be too high. Let's try 210. 210. See how the score keeps going up on player number 2? Somebody messed with the... Forgot the negative sign. So we're going to stop it. We're going to click the flag. We'll start over. Player scored. Player scored. Player scored. You can see now the scoring is working more consistently. Nice. Oh, I'm going to have to do some little customizing here of getting the paddles to move a little faster or the ball to move a little slower. Right now we have a working score. We have paddles that move, a ball that is a little too consistent. So next time, we're going to do some modifying of our game. We're going to get the paddles to move a little better. We're going to get the ball to move a little more randomly to make the gameplay a little better. And then we'll figure out a way to make that score look a little cooler on the game than it is right now. So for today, we just want the scores to work, just like I did in the code there. When you are done, you're going to change the name of it to Pong version 3. Shared has already been clicked. Now we'll have to add this to the new code studio, which will say Pong game version 3. This is going to be due by the end of the day Friday, so please get that done and get it loaded into the studio. If you have any questions, let me know. And as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe.